The Los Angeles Kings roll into Florida tonight with their backs against the wall, desperate to snap a 3-game road losing streak. The Panthers? They're trying to shake off a bad 4-1 loss to Vegas and find some momentum. On paper, Florida has the edge: home ice, a stronger recent form, and offensive firepower. But hockey isn't played on paper, is it? The Kings may have stumbled against Detroit and Columbus, but this team doesn't stay down for long. Let's not forget they've dominated Florida in recent years, going 7-2-1 in their last 10 matchups. More importantly, they've already beaten the Panthers this season, taking a win in the first game of this 2-game series. Offensively, Adrian Kempe and Anze Kopitar are the backbone of the Kings' attack, combining for 87 points this season, and while the team only managed 2 goals against Detroit, don't discount what they've shown over the course of the season. They're consistent, grinding out wins even when their offense isn't firing on all cylinders. Their real strength lies in defense, ranking 4th in the league in goals allowed. Yes, they gave up 5 goals to Detroit, but that's the exception, not the rule. Darcy Kuemper's .919 save percentage and 2.17 GAA are no fluke. Now let's talk about Florida. The Panthers have been a bit of a roller coaster. Sure, they've won 3 of their last 5. And their offense is potent, averaging 3.20 goals per game. But defensively? They're shaky, sitting 16th in the league and giving up just under 3 goals a game. Spencer Knight's .905 save percentage isn't scaring anyone, and their penalty kill ranks in the middle of the pack. Against a disciplined Kings team that ranks 8th in penalty kill, Florida's power play might not be the deciding factor it usually is. Here's the kicker. Florida's form looks strong until you dig deeper. Their offense has been inconsistent, and they've leaned heavily on a few key players like Sam Reinhart and Matthew Tkachuk. If the Kings' defense locks down those top lines, Florida doesn't have much depth to fall back on. And let's not forget, the Kings are still 7-2-1 in their last 10 against the Panthers. That's not a fluke. It's a trend. The experts are siding with Florida. They point to the Kings' road woes and the Panthers' offense. But I'm not buying it. Why? Because the Kings are too good defensively to be counted out, and plus 130 on the money line is simply too much value to ignore. Upsets happen in hockey, and when a team like Los Angeles has the history, the tools, and the incentive to prove themselves, you take the odds. And today's AI pick is Los Angeles Kings moneyline at plus 130. Trust the Kings to find their rhythm and silence the critics tonight. On to Game 2.
The Minnesota Wild are heading into this matchup against the Toronto Maple Leafs as clear underdogs, but they might just be the smarter pick here. Let me explain why. First off, let's talk about the Wild's defense. While their offense has struggled, managing only 17 goals in their last 7 games, their defense has been rock solid. Allowing just 2.86 goals per game, the Wild boast one of the most disciplined defensive units in the league. Brock Faber, Jacob Middleton, Jonas Brodin, and Zach Bogosian bring depth, with a combined 22 defensive point shares, and they've been effective in keeping opponents' offenses in check. Philip Gustafsson has been stellar between the pipes this season, with a 0.913 save percentage and a 2.61 GAA. He's also saved 10.8 goals above average, proving he can stand tall under pressure. Now let's compare that to the Maple Leafs. While their offense has been more consistent, averaging 3.08 goals per game, their goaltender Joseph Woll has a weaker track record compared to Gustafsson. With only 4.4 goals saved above average and a 0.907 save percentage, Woll has been solid but far from elite. Against a Wild team that thrives on disciplined defense, Woll may not be able to match Gustafsson's high-level performance. The Leafs also depend heavily on their top forwards like Mitch Marner, William Nylander, and Austin Matthews, who have been fantastic. But the Wild's defensive depth can neutralize this top-heavy offense. Minnesota's ability to shut down elite lines gives them an edge that isn't reflected in the odds. Then there's the value factor. The Wild moneyline is sitting at 140, making it a great underdog bet. Toronto may be a strong home team, but Minnesota's defense-first style, paired with Gustafsson's ability to steal games, makes this a dangerous matchup for the Maple Leafs. And here's one more thing: while Toronto has the better offensive numbers, the Wild's defense is built to frustrate high-powered teams. If Minnesota can slow the game down and control the pace, they have a real chance to grind out a win. So, here's where I stand. The Maple Leafs might be the favorite, but they're not untouchable. And today's AI pick is Minnesota Wild moneyline at 140. Defense wins games, and tonight, the Wild have the tools to pull off the upset.
The Devils may have lost their last matchup against the Flyers, but don't let that cloud your judgment. That 4-2 loss doesn't tell the whole story, and tonight, the Devils are in the perfect position to bounce back on home ice. Let's break it down. The Flyers have been shaky defensively all season, allowing 170 goals and carrying a mediocre penalty kill of 82.14%. Samuel Ersson, who's likely starting for Philadelphia, has a career save percentage of just 892 and a goals against average of 3.99. Those numbers don't inspire confidence. Sure, he has a decent quality start percentage at 529, but he's wildly inconsistent. Against a Devils team that ranks 4th in total shots taken this season, Ersson will be under siege all night. Now, the Devils are not without their strengths, with 159 goals this season, compared to the Flyers' 151. Their offense is deeper and more versatile. Their power play is one of the most lethal in the league, converting 28.08% of their opportunities, 3rd best in the NHL. This is a huge edge against a Flyers penalty kill that has struggled to contain opponents. And let's not overlook Jake Allen in the net for New Jersey. With a career save percentage of 907 and a quality start percentage of 52.2%. He's a steady presence who's more than capable of holding down the fort, especially against a Flyers offense that's largely middle of the pack. Philadelphia may have scored 4 goals in their last outing, but that was off just 26 shots. That kind of efficiency is hard to replicate, especially against a Devils defense that's allowing only 1,337 shots this season, one of the best marks in the league. The Devils have also been relentless on the attack, firing 1,546 shots this season, good for 4th in the NHL. Combine that with home ice advantage and a chance to avenge their recent loss, and you've got a team with all the motivation they need to dominate this game. So, here's the bottom line. The Flyers have been inconsistent, especially in net, while the Devils have the firepower and defensive discipline to control this game. Ersson is not a goaltender you can trust to shut down a high-volume shooting team like New Jersey. With the Devils boasting one of the league's most dangerous power plays and the Flyers giving up far too many opportunities, New Jersey is the clear favorite, and today's AI pick is New Jersey Devils moneyline at -182. Sometimes, you go with the stronger team, and tonight, the Devils are primed to show why they're among the league's elite.
The Vancouver Canucks might be riding a 2-game win streak, but that doesn't erase the larger picture of inconsistency on both ends of the ice. Yes, JT Miller, Connor Garland, and Brock Boeser have carried the offense, but that's precisely the issue. It's a top-heavy attack. With only 5 forwards scoring 12 or more goals this season, opponents have been able to focus on shutting down their stars, leaving Vancouver's secondary scoring virtually non-existent. Against a Nashville team desperate to turn their season around, relying on such a narrow offensive structure could be their undoing. And while Vancouver's defense has some standout players like Quinn Hughes and Tyler Myers, the overall unit has been porous, allowing 3.14 goals per game. They're giving up far too many open shots, and though Kevin Lankinen has been serviceable in net with a 0.906 save percentage, his numbers don't scream dominance. A streaky team like Vancouver is vulnerable to any team that can play disciplined hockey, and that's where Nashville has an opportunity. The Predators might have their own struggles, particularly on defense, but they have the tools to turn things around. Let's not forget their offensive core of Philip Forsberg, Steven Stamkos, and Jonathan Marchessault, who have combined for 50 goals and 70 assists. The key difference: Nashville's top scorers are complemented by a bit more grit and experience, which gives them the ability to exploit Vancouver's defensive lapses. Additionally, despite scoring just 2.69 goals per game this season, the Predators have the individual talent to find the net, especially against a defense as shaky as the Canucks. On the back end, Roman Josi and Brady Esquier lead Nashville's defensive core. While their overall numbers aren't perfect, they have the potential to step up in key moments. And let's not forget Gio Saros. Yes? His save percentage of 0.899 and 2.1 goals saved above average aren't spectacular, but Sarah's has a track record of delivering clutch performances, particularly at home. A game like this against a vulnerable Vancouver squad is the type where Sarah's can regain form. Another factor to consider: home ice advantage. The Predators may not have had a season to remember, but playing in front of their fans at Bridgestone Arena could provide a spark. With a team like Vancouver that struggles to string together consistent performances, this is a prime opportunity for Nashville to take control early and dictate the pace of the game. Lastly, there's value in backing the Predators. At 140, Nashville might be favored, but they're not overpriced. For a team with key talent, a solid home crowd, and an opponent as inconsistent as Vancouver, Nashville is the smarter play. And today's ad pick is Nashville Predators money line. They have the tools to capitalize on Vancouver's weaknesses and take care of business on home ice.
The Pittsburgh Penguins might be in a slump, but if there's ever a spot to back them, it's tonight against the Utah Hockey Club. Yes, Utah won their last meeting in dominant fashion, but don't let that game dictate the outcome of this one. This is a completely different situation. Let's start with Utah. They've dropped back-to-back games, failing to score more than 2 goals in either contest. Their offense, which sits 20th in the NHL in goals per game 2.84, has been inconsistent at best. They rely heavily on Clayton Keller, and outside of him, scoring depth has been a major issue. Their power play: 0 for 3 against Ottawa last game, and at home they haven't been much better. Defensively, Utah is solid but far from elite. Connor Ingram, their expected starter, has an 0.88 save percentage this season. Yes, he's been better in January. But let's not forget that Utah's defense just gave up 8 goals in their last 2 games against Winnipeg and Ottawa, teams that have struggled with scoring at times this season. Now, let's talk about Pittsburgh. The Penguins are overdue for an offensive breakout. Sidney Crosby is still a force with 15 goals, and Brian Rust returned from injury in their last game, immediately contributing an assist. Even with Malkin sidelined, there's enough veteran presence in this lineup to capitalize on a shaky Utah defense. Yes, Pittsburgh has struggled on this road trip, but they've been the better shooting team in most of these losses. Against San Jose, they outshot the Sharks 30-28 against Utah earlier this season. They put up 34 shots but ran into a hot goaltender. If they keep up the pressure, the scoring regression swings in their favor. One more thing, guys, is the final game of Pittsburgh's 7-game road trip. Teams often rally in the last game of long road swings, playing with extra urgency before returning home. Utah, meanwhile, is in the middle of their schedule with no sense of desperation. The Penguins' money line provides strong value here. They have the better overall talent, are creating chances, and are facing a Utah team that lacks consistency. Don't be surprised when Pittsburgh puts it all together and steals a win in Salt Lake City. And today's AI pick is Pittsburgh Penguins money line. The road trip ends on a high note. Recap of AI picks for January 29th, 2025. 1. Los Angeles Kings money line 100. And 30. The Kings have dominated Florida in their recent matchups and already hold a win in the season series. Florida's defense is suspect, and their reliance on their top scorers leaves them vulnerable. At 130, the Kings provide excellent underdog value. 2. Minnesota Wild money line 140. Minnesota's defense is elite, allowing just 2.86 goals per game. The Wild have the defensive tools to neutralize Toronto's top scorers. At 140, the Wild's defensive structure makes them a strong underdog play. 3. New Jersey Devils money line 182. The Devils have an elite power play 28.08% and dominate possession. Philadelphia's defense and goaltending have been inconsistent. The Devils outshot the Flyers in their last meeting but failed to convert. Expect regression. 4. Nashville Predators money line 140. Vancouver's offense is too reliant on a few players, making them easy to defend. Joe Saros, despite average stats, has game-stealing ability. The Predators' home ice advantage gives them a strong edge. 5. Pittsburgh Penguins money line. The Penguins are due for an offensive breakout after multiple low-scoring games. Utah's defense has allowed 8 goals in the last 2 games. This is the last game of Pittsburgh's road trip, a common rally spot for road teams. That's the slate. 5 picks, 5 strong arguments, all backed by data. Let's cash these in and keep the momentum going.